Hey everybody, John from Slash Bash coming at you with another Choosing Beggar Reddit video. When a Choosing Beggar jailbird uncle is denied an increase to the monthly money sent to him, he sues his brother repeatedly, and his money does change to zero. Let's jump right in. Just a bit of background. My uncle has been in jail off and on for probably 3/4 of my life, and I'll be 40 this year. Usually it was just pure idiocy that landed him behind bars. Once he broke into a house and fell asleep on their couch. Another time it was something like public drunkenness in Utah on a non-drinking day or something. At that point, I wasn't paying attention to what exactly landed him in jail. It was just an, oh, uncle is in jail again, and move on with life thing. But this last time he got drunk and beat a man almost to death. Sentence, 20 years. Other random facts that come into play. Uncle had 2 kids. Uncle was divorced but failed to pay child support, so had a huge child support bill due. That child support bill, if uncle ever had too much money at once because his money was watched by the prison system, it could be seized to repay the back child support. Anyway, on to the long story. This went on for about a decade, so a few things might be out of order, but all the key parts are there. So it's the late 2000s, and uncle is already in prison for beating this dude. Then my grandfather on that side, who previously had been subsidizing my uncle in prison, had a stroke, and for a few days it was pretty touch and go. My dad flies out, and it's obvious that if grandpa lives, he's going to have to go into a nursing home. Grandpa's sister and my dad are there and decide that they need Grandpa to get his will together. They have an attorney come to the hospital, and the will gets written, witnessed, etc. Now yes, Grandpa had just had a stroke, but his mind was still fully there. His mind was good until the day he died. At this point, I have to break to mention 2 things. 1. Grandpa owed Dad about $20,000, so the will was structured to treat that as separate somehow, and 2, Grandpa told Dad not to give my uncle money in prison. Anyway, in the will my grandpa left everything to my dad, nothing to the grandchildren, this comes up later, and nothing to my uncle. My dad and Grandpa's sister actually asked about my uncle, and Grandpa replied that he'd bailed him out of jail so many times, even adding an extra mortgage once, if I recall, and sent him so much spending money for prison that in his eyes, my uncle had already received his inheritance. Now, we were still on speaking terms with uncle after Grandpa's stroke, and even though he was told not to, my dad started sending them monthly spending money, which I believe was $50 then, and after a couple years went up to $75. A year later, Grandpa passed. We called the prison to let uncle know, and in a subsequent letter he was informed that there was nothing for him in the will. My parents did put a token amount into a bond for him anyway. About 3 years passed, during which time my parents continue to send a monthly stipend to my uncle. Then uncle calls with some excuse for why he needs more money. My parents call BS and tell him that they're not sending anything extra. Uncle gets pushier, and my parents finally tell him that they'll cash out the bond they set aside for him, but then there will be nothing for him when he gets out. Uncle takes the money, but still demands an increase in his monthly amount. He's once again told no, he's getting free money, and if he needs more, he should get a job in the prison. At some point around this time, one of my cousins died, and the other died a couple years later. Uncle argues that cousin's inheritance should revert to him, arguing that Grandpa had to have left some money to his precious grandchildren, neglecting the fact that none of the grandchildren were included, and even if they were, it would have been paid out years earlier. When my parents send ex-aunt money to help with funeral costs, Uncle is mad because he thinks that money should have gone to him for grieving or something. Fast forward several months, there have been rumblings of Uncle demanding money from other people we know, which is pissing everybody off, but this is the way he operates, and everybody is a tiny bit forgiving, because his eldest kid just died. Then ex-aunt forwards us a letter in which uncle asks her to lie for him and state that there was a previous will by my grandparents that included him. There wasn't. At the same time, we're notified that uncle is suing my parents, contesting grandpa's will, and demanding almost 5 times the amount of the entire inheritance. Note, he was able to claim indigent status, so filing fees and such were waived. It's at this point my parents cut him off. Pretty sure that their own money had been used to buy favors in prison that helped uncle put together the lawsuit. Now, the lawsuit was full of ridiculous allegations, claiming that grandpa had been coerced into making a new will while mentally weak due to the stroke, that my parents had abused my grandpa, that the estate was worth far more than it was because of antiques and such, lol, old doesn't mean valuable, that my parents were willfully withholding the contact information of family members who would back up his claims, nope, they begged us not to give him their details because they knew he'd demand money, and as many lies as he thought he could get away with. Enter lawsuit number 1, filed in the state grandpa lived in before his stroke and where the will was written, was quickly dismissed on jurisdiction grounds as uncle didn't live there, my parents don't live there, and grandpa didn't die there cause my parents brought him to a nursing home in our state so he wouldn't have to be alone. Enter lawsuit number 2. About 9 months or so after lawsuit number 1, uncle refiled in the state he's incarcerated in. This time it wasn't quickly tossed on jurisdiction grounds, and parents had to get an out-of-state attorney. Eventually, the case was dismissed, but without prejudice. Enter lawsuit number 3. Almost immediately after the case was tossed in the second state, he sues again in the state parents live in and grandpa died in. Parents have to get an attorney again. This time uncle gets it in his head he'll win and drops the suit, expecting an amicable resolution because he's sick. At this point, my parents are done and have been no contact for a while. My dad is pissed, and nope, there will be no amicable resolution cause F the uncle and his stuff. Enter lawsuit number 4. About 6 months after dropping lawsuit number 3, uncle sues again. This one finally gets to court. A judge looks at everything, including threatening letters uncle had sent, and the letter he'd sent ex-aunt wanting her to lie about another will, etc., and the case is finally tossed with prejudice, meaning no refile. Uncle immediately appeals, but when that finally got to the appeals court, they tossed it pretty quickly. Now the sweet ending. Because all the family and friends watched uncle run my parents through 4 different frivolous lawsuits because they refused to give him more money, almost everybody has cut ties, and last I heard, nobody was giving him any money at all. Choosing Beggar wants free tuition, topics covered at supersonic speed and instantly. I work on a tutoring site that offers new students, parents, a free 15-minute meeting with a tutor to get to know how things work and what they need help with, not an actual lesson. It also makes you set what times in the week you can do them, so people can instantly book themselves into a slot. I don't like that because you get a lot of time wasters, but occasionally set times if I'm looking for more work. Choosing Beggar student books a free meeting for tomorrow from the available choices, then sends a reschedule request for about 10 minutes time, whilst I'm in the middle of someone's paid lesson, so the request times out before I see it. Hi, can you let me know if I have the free meeting today instead of tomorrow, please? Choosing Beggar sends another request for 10 minutes time that also times out. It won't let me book. Are you available? After my lesson. Hi, Choosing Beggar. Thanks for requesting a session for tomorrow at 2 p.m. I've seen that you tried to reschedule it to today. However, I've been teaching someone, so these timed out before I could reply. Are you still okay to go ahead with the 2 p.m. tomorrow slot? I just wanted to see if you can do it today because there were no slots for today on the choices. Is that the soonest you have? I don't have enough time tonight as I'm teaching other sessions. There is an earlier time tomorrow at 12:45 if you would prefer that. That's not much choice. I can't do that time, but I guess I can just do the 2 p.m. one. That's fine. I will keep that booking and see you then. In the meantime, you can let me know a bit about what you are looking for help with via a message if you wish, or ask any questions, and I'll get back to you between lessons. Okay, well, I need help urgently, so I'm messaging a few tutors to help with X, Y, and Z. Do you think I need longer than 15 minutes for the meeting? At this point, I'm already smelling crap. The free meetings are 15 minutes max, as they are just to answer questions about the tutoring process, make arrangements, and discuss what you need to learn. I could certainly help with those topics, however, the soonest lesson available would be Wednesday, so I understand if it's urgent and another tutor offers you a lesson sooner. Oh, it's okay, we can just do a lesson tomorrow. I don't have enough time to do a full lesson tomorrow, but you're welcome to go ahead with the 15-minute free meeting if you're happy to wait until Wednesday for a full lesson. But you said 15 minutes max. You can help me then. The 15 minutes is not a lesson. It's just an introductory meeting. Even so, we would not be able to cover all 3 topics in 15 minutes. That is at least an hour's work. So can we just extend the meeting? You can just help me as much as you can in the 15 minutes, and I'll do the rest with another tutor. I don't need any lessons, just the 15 minutes. Can we do the X part? The crap is truly steaming now. If you have no intention of following on with booking any lessons, then there is no need to go ahead with the 15-minute free meeting. As I said earlier, this is not a lesson itself, and you can't use these to scam multiple tutors for free tutoring. I'm not scamming. You get 15 minutes free, so I can get that. Why have you canceled it? Thanks for wasting my time. This has been John from Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then please hit the subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like and share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.